Basically, I just want this to be you and me just talking about anything we want. It doesn't have to be about music. I'll edit out all the stuff that just seems dumb or ineffective, and I'll send it back to you when it's edited, just to make sure you're cool with everything. But I mean, unless you see something really stupid that you wanted to take back, you're probably going to know whether or not you want me to release it.
Yeah, I think it'll be fine. I like the natural dynamic too.
Yeah.
Just kind of conversing and.
Yeah, totally, man.
Going from there, so I like it. But yeah, so this is like a kind of you looking to like put it on a site, or like is this kind of just something you're trying to get started, or?
Well, I'm trying to. Well, I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. I'm taking this business education online, and basically, it's called Six Figure Mentors. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
It sounds kind of familiar, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I looked up the reviews and everything, and then I got into it, and I paid the admission fee, and I'm actually really into it.
Yeah.
They set you up to start an online business, and it's basically like an online, like business school, like a marketing school.
Mm-hmm.
And they teach you a lot of universal stuff that you can use, but they start you off sort of helping you to build your own website, and they start you off being an affiliate for them, for their education products.
Okay.
Can you hear me all right?
Yep. Well, yeah, you're coming through great.
Cool. So basically, it starts off like that. So it's really into their interest that you do well and that you learn all this stuff and you become an affiliate for them because you're selling their products.
Mm-hmm.
But then once you get good at it, I mean, you can do whatever you want. You can build your own business. Right. So, I did a lot of checking out. I was skeptical for a long time, but I must say, I reached a point where I just sort of like completely gave myself to it. Just said, fuck it. I'm gonna ignore the discomfort of being out of my comfort zone. I'm just gonna do exactly what they say. And I must say, I've noticed a lot of good changes in my mentality and my sense of organization. So, cool. But anyway, back to your question. A lot of what they promote is you get used to producing online content because you're going to develop a list of an audience eventually, right?
Right.
And their whole strategy is create as much content as you can and give as much of your knowledge as you possibly can, and sway free, because that's how you establish trust.
Right.
So basically, this podcast is an effort to create content, but it's also my own sort of prerogative to just get connected with the music community.
Right on.
And I just see, like, if I have a mission, it's probably to sort of figure out how people like me and you, basically freelancers, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as we are as musicians, how we can somehow make a better living and not have this either or scenario in our mind where we actually do what we want or we make money. You know what I mean?
Right.
Figure out how we can have both.
Mm-hmm.
Seems like a lofty goal, I know, in today's climate where nobody pays for albums anymore. But
right.
But if I had a long-term vision, it would be to contemplate that problem.
Right. But, trying to make everything like it's not you're making a decision. It's just your life is built in satisfaction overall and profitable.
Well, yeah, totally.
Okay. Interesting. Hey, it's funny you mentioned that because I maybe sell like one album a month, and I end up getting $5.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like return on investment is pretty low.
Yeah. Yeah. I was listening to that album today or yesterday, man. It's awesome.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting the live string section.
Yeah.
Shit, man. That really is a personal project. It's like if I could do exactly what I wanted, it would probably be inflected with like classical music, and it would have strings, especially the low strings, the bass and cello. It seems like.
Yeah, it's it was definitely a passion thing, and I felt bad for Andrew who worked with me on it, and he's worked with me on my other records too, but especially on that record because normally I was kind of naive back then. Even it's only like 3 years ago, but I was kind of naive to the production process because I gave him the tracks to mix, and he's the mixing engineer. And then here I am like asking for all these changes, and it's like, if I were in his position, I'd be just like, well, why don't you just frickin' mix it? You know, you're paying me to do this.
Yeah.
Stop, like, back then I thought, like, oh, this is normal. You just collaborate with your mixing engineer. And
but he never went there. He never ended up saying that to you.
No.
But you were waiting for it.
Well, it's like, I could sense that he was just like, at one point he was like, okay, well, it's time to leave this alone because you could do this forever. Yeah. But really, that was his way of saying, like, please screw off. Yeah. Let me do my job. But no, he's a phenomenal engineer, Andrew. He's in Berlin now.
Wiseman.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. By the way, I'll just say the album we're talking about is your 2016 album.
Yeah.
Setting a Course for Tomorrow.
Yeah, came out July 2016. It's got pretty much all Eastern Canadian musicians on it, except for one person who's from Tucson, Arizona, but he now lives in Dallas, Oregon. His name's Lee Warner.
Oh, yeah.
Really remarkable guitar player who went to MI. Was taught under guitar players like Alan Hines and Scott Henderson. And he's an overall really intense composer, too, but he played acoustic guitar on the album.
Oh, yeah. Okay. How did you meet him?
I met him by way of his now late father, who I sent him one of my albums from a while ago, like in 2012. And then Lee reached out to me and said, oh, you sent my dad an album. That's pretty cool. And then we kind of just started talking from there. And I always thought that Lee was like one of those like unapproachable guys because he like had lesson videos on YouTube of like in these like studios in California. And he was, you know, his albums have it has Genevieve from Nowhere on it. Oh. And they know each other. And I was just like, okay, this guy's like,
I thought he was out of your league.
He's going for it in Los Angeles, but no, him and I kind of bonded over a few things, and he ended up being a pretty instrumental, like, in supporter of like the creative process. He's very much into being your own person and creating all the time and trying to make a unique statement.
Okay, yeah. Did he record it from Dallas, or did he come and visit you?
No, he recorded from Dallas.
Okay, yeah.
So I sent him tracks, and I showed him what I wanted, and he just recorded it.
That's amazing.
So yeah, he has a teaching studio in Dallas, Oregon, and he lives there and has a home is an entrepreneur.
Nice.
Yeah. And the production process was pretty simple. I had the string section on there. And then all the other soloists I had just come by my apartment on North Street at the time. And it was so funny, like, Martin Davidson.
Yeah, I heard Martin.
He comes riding by on North Street on his bicycle, comes in with his horn, and does 2 takes and leaves. It's like, what as rock and roll as you can get on the saxophone, you know? Like,
it's so good, man. Like, yeah. I was listening to it last night, and, like, whenever I hear his horn, it's like I see him in my mind.
Yeah.
Like, it's that recognizable. So It's like, shit, I didn't know Martin was on this. And I look and it's like, of course, it's Martin.
Yeah.
Where did he get his talent from? I don't know. He was like that. I went to school with him and he was like that when he was like 18. He's just always been like that.
Yeah, he's no stranger to the whole note, man. Like that's like his like signature move. It's like when he hits power stance, it's just like, I'm just gonna ride this note and be so confident in it. It's like, it just like loves it. It's like,
yeah.
And it builds intensity for people. It's so funny. You can learn so many cool licks, which he knows already. But I find like whenever he takes a solo and then he just rides a super high note, but it's just the right one. Yeah. It's like it captivates people. They're like, oh shit. And he means that.
Oh man. One of the things about him is that I feel like he just approached the music in the right way. Like he's like very traditional. Like that's his great love. It's very traditional. He aspires. He plays jazz really, really, really well.
One thing I really respect about him too is he sets the expectation early in a professional sense. It's like, this is what I'm worth. This is what I want to do. And then I'm not going to accept anything outside of that. It sets the precedent early.
Yeah.
So he values himself professionally.
Professionally, yeah.
Very, very consistently, which is important.
Yeah. Well, that's something I feel should happen. Like people should price with pride, especially when they're original artists.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, maybe you'll never get hired, but I mean, you're not going to get anywhere selling yourself short either.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm not the first person to contemplate what possible strategy could help original artists, of course, but it's just such a difficult problem.
Oh, it is, because it's like on one hand, it's like, do you want to never make any connections, or like never have any experiences? But on the other, do you want to devalue your peers? Because it's like, who's going to pay $100 or $200 for this person when they know they can just ask the other person who's dying to play?
Yeah,
they would do it for chump change.
Totally.
You know, it's we're living in a platform where it's like only a few other artistic forms have not fallen to that fate, which is like the photographers of the world or like the graphic designers of the world. It's like they won't work for nothing ever. You know, photographers have like held their value so strongly.
Yeah, it's great.
It's insane. It's like, how do they, where does the hive mind go on that they just don't go like, I just want to, you know, throw a watermark on the photos and just do this wedding, you know, like,
yeah.
doesn't happen.
No, it kind of happens. I've seen photographers still doing that.
I guess it can. It probably does.
I mean, Claudia did that to us.
Oh yeah.
I don't think she's ended up charging us for anything.
Well, I guess we haven't even used anything. We didn't really buy anything.
If we really wanted one, we'd probably
buy it. Buy it. Yeah. Out of a matter of principle.
Yeah. But yeah, I want that to continue for photographers. That's a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, hive mind. Yeah, not the undercutting.
Yeah.
I was thinking about like, well, okay, just for the listeners, you and me are in a band. Our latest project idea is we're going to do a genre-based, like an R&B-based 90s sort of tribute.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think of it, right?
Yes.
And that's like, it's got a certain audience, but it's quite a broad audience, and it's good. You can play it in clubs, and it's probably good in a corporate setting. You can make it's a moneymaker.
Oh yeah.
We do it well, right?
Mm-hmm.
You get Jesse Brown singing lead. It'd be amazing. So I feel like of all we've got going for us, that's going to be the cash cow, if you can call anything a cash cow, because you probably get an agent and get booked fairly regularly. But with this problem in the back of my head with original artists, it's like, for a while I was thinking, you remember, before we did this 90s thing, I was like, what if we were a band that played corporate stuff, did weddings, played all the top 40, but we just slipped an original in there now and again. An original that maybe isn't too pretentious. And then maybe we could just keep slipping them in until we get well known enough that we're kind of almost playing more originals than covers. And it's like, is that going to work? Is that really a viable?
I don't know.
I wasn't sure.
I think a lot of what makes that challenging is so much of the wedding band or the corporate band appeal is when you're playing a set list and then everyone goes, oh, I know that one.
Yeah.
Or like it's like an oh shit moment.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they're doing that tune.
Yeah.
So I would think it would work. It would just take a certain amount of local rapport to make it happen. You know?
Well, it's like, I don't know if you have to change the way the audience thinks because of the product you offer. Like, well, just for instance, I'll just tell you my alternative to that idea was, what if, like with us, we take this 90s thing, we get an agent, we get like a brand together, you know what I mean? We have a thing. And then we have another project, which maybe is like a different kind of tribute. Maybe it's like me and Luke are doing this 80s glam metal thing.
Yes.
Really pumped about it. We've been working on bit by bit for the last 2 years.
Yeah, I've heard about that periodically.
We are really pumped about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're pumped enough that we feel like we would like to put together another project. But I'm thinking, why not do it of sort of like similar, with a similar promotional arm and a similar production value to what we're doing in the 90s thing. Like maybe we'll work with, well, basically me and Luke are the same personnel for one.
Mm-hmm.
What if we have like if we have this '90s thing going, what if we have someone like someone designing lights? You know what I mean? Like, what if we had lights going on? If we invested in that,
right?
Made it in like the appropriate attire for 1980s R&B hip hop kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
That, and like really focus on having a show that's more like a stage production, where we might even do a little bit of blocking during the performance. We have like stage banter that's like loosely scripted. We have a show that's continuous and really together and really thoroughly rehearsed with lights and like cues, and everybody's dressed right, and it feels like a fun 1980s R&B party all the way through with no dead air. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we actually went that extra mile to make it cohesive and fun like that. I feel like the music speaks for itself, yes, but the way that it's organized and put together, it's like, I feel is just between the difference between good and great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was thinking about that too. It's like the visual is going to be the next step.
Yeah.
Because it's like, sure, a bunch of people can just get up on stage and do a really authentic rendition of All the Single Ladies or whatever it's called. But the next step would be to make it more thematic.
Yeah.
Make it an event. So it's almost a question of, do you pool the same resources and then just have a revolving door of styles and then do like tribute nights? Because those are always successful.
Yeah.
But or do you make them all their own separate compartmentalized projects? Or do you have like a central pool of resources that you use for the glam thing, for the 90s thing? You know? And they just have like a roster of people you know who are rehearsed to know the tunes, and you can just piece together a band for a certain style and then put on a show. And that way you have gigs all year round, because you'll have a certain, like, oh, we're going to do, you know, the whole 80s glam thing some summer night. And then just it'll be like some hot and heavy show at the Seahorse. And then maybe another time you'll do the 90s thing and kind of alternate it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a collective of people you know who do a good job.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I mean, I'm glad you're seeing it that way, because I kind of baited you into just like expressing your opinion on that, and it's basically the same thing I'm thinking. I want to form a music collective.
Yeah.
Like, so that's two products, for example.
Mm-hmm.
If we had like a third product, I feel like that would be enough. But the thing is, if we get into the game with the 90s thing, we take that stage production stuff and the choreography stuff really seriously and get it down.
Mm-hmm.
Have a stage show that's sort of like obviously very distinct from a band at a bar. It's obviously completely distinct because of the production, the extra production we've invested. Now that it's this sort of like more polished, higher level product that can be shopped in the corporate realm, it comes under an umbrella company that has other options.
And so we're basically looking to form a production company.
Basically, yeah. But you can rest assured that because of the company's standard, that any of the other options, like the 80s glam thing or like whatever productions, are going to be of the same production standard and cohesiveness and atmosphere as the one you saw before. You know what I mean?
Right. So it's almost like a theater collective, but brought to the music venues.
Kind of.
So
I want to have the multiple projects under an umbrella company name, and when we're promoted, even if we work through other agents at first, especially, we won't allow them to promote us other than this company, which has these products, and you're seeing this one product of this company. You know what I mean?
So it's almost like we'd be building a reputation under. So then, if we decide to do like there's a tribute night for, I don't know, it could even be one artist. Like it could be like a tribute to.
Sure, it could be anything.
Who knows?
The standard is the stage production quality. The through choreographed stage production that never stops, never has a break in the fun, and there's lights and there's stage banter, and it's really, really like crowd engagement is like number one, and we actually like script that shit. You know what I mean? going back to like how I want to change the industry somehow so that original artists can come on board. That's sort of like phase 3, whereas now we're in phase 1. You know what I mean? Yeah. Phase 1 is just getting an agent and getting our 90s thing out there. Phase 2 would be developing the different products, the different nights, the different things.
Yeah.
And advertising under this umbrella company. And then phase 3 would be the idea that we could start partnering with original artists. But they have to meet our standards of stage performance because it's our company. If you're an original artist and your music is really great and it speaks for itself, nobody will deny that. But you need to be able to up your game to the point where you have this stage show, real help with the production, with the lights and everything. But you've got to have the stage banner, you've got to have the little bit of blocking so that there's something going on stage, and you've got to have, you know what I mean? That through composed concert that never stops. And that's the only standard. If your music is good, that's the only standard. Then it won't cost the band or us anything to have them on under our umbrella. And they might never get booked. But if we have a reputation for giving a certain kind of product, the customer can rest assured that the production of this concert is going to be of equal quality to everything we've done before with the tribute nights. And so it's almost trying to take original artists under our wing, but we're asking those original artists to like seriously meet us halfway and step up your game. Make it entertaining, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Well, it's like, that's the compromise. That's the only compromise. We don't want to fuck with your music. Just bring us good music, but you've got to meet this criteria for a stage show that's gonna stand up to a 90s R&B night. You know what I mean? And if you think you can do that and have all the banter and all the good, you know what I mean? Have a
totally
dress appropriately or create a system. This is the age of micro niches. You know what I mean? Like somebody might hire you.
Yeah, I find it really interesting, the whole production company standpoint to bringing like the live music entertainment. Like that's a really interesting thought to me because I never thought about it that way. Because normally these projects are done. There's someone who has an idea, they put together the rep, they book the gig, that's the end.
Yeah.
Whereas like as we go on, it'll get easier because the first time, there'll be some prep work, but then once we go to revisit the material, it's like, oh, we want 90s again. It's like, okay, well, we have a pool of tunes that we've worked on, and it's done. Oh, we want the White Snake and the Rat shit. Then it's like, okay, well, we got all that in the bag too, and then start with those two, and then kind of build from there. And it'll be really good because you have a database of musicians, and you can say, go, okay, what do we need for this? What do we need for this music? Oh, we might need a horn, or we need a certain amount of vocals for certain arrangements. It's like, well, we have these people we know we can rely on, and they're there, and then book the gig and then ask them. We can get into a powerful position doing that. So it's definitely interesting. I like the idea too of eventually like making it sort of a original performer spotlight. Like you say, that's definitely the third phase. Like the first is getting the products established.
Long-term vision.
What's that?
Yeah, it's the long-term vision.
Yeah.
But presenting original art in a way that it's believable that you could have an awesome night. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It might only attract certain artists, maybe pop artists. But I mean, if you're a shaggy singer-songwriter who doesn't have a band and you just sing, but your words are amazing, micro niches. If you come up and you have lyrics that are so good and you can tell stories in between, and you're just engaging and you've got a following and it's just kicking ass for some reason we can't explain, and nobody can deny it, then I mean, it's not going to cost anybody anything to have you under the thing. You know what I mean? We'll just put your press kit up on the website. But that's the other thing. Promoting this initially is, I want to do it with this strategy of an ongoing entertainment stream. We talked about it before. Whereas anytime we play anywhere, we have like little video of people talking, the preparation, the backstage life, the personalities of the people in the collective. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's sort of like always going on, and that's there for the customer to peruse. And if the customer's trying to make a decision between who to choose of all the people that are out there for their wedding or their event, when they get to us, to our site, they're on our site choosing for ours. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They have a lot to choose from just with us. And they have content that's deep. They can just sit there and watch videos all night about this one band in this whole company and get lost in it and just get absorbed in it. And at the end of the night, it's like, well, I feel bad for that band, but I got to choose this one. Fortunately, they're all under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's kind of like how Anheuser-Busch or whatever, like Labatt regionally like owns like Keith's and Stella and like all these various beer companies. It's like, well, you choose the other one and then the other still going to the same pot.
Yeah, man. I have no qualms with like trying to find crafty strategies to get original music appreciated. I mean, I think it's good. I feel good about it if I could achieve that in any measure. Plus, it's fun. it's fun to get business minded about this.
And like all the pizza shit that can still be under that too. It's like if we want to go like full on like play a stupid. I mean, I know we're kind of trying to get past that a little bit, but to throw that out there is like, well, if someone wants it, is going to book it, is going to pay for it, then we'll do it.
That's the thing, Pat. Like, part of, like, I openly said I don't really relish playing that stuff, but it's like there's statistics that say that like why do most people quit their job, and it's because they feel underappreciated. And I just feel like when I was playing that stuff with you guys, I like your compositions. I love Rootney. Like it's great shit, and I'll listen to your records. It's like, yeah, man, you've got an awesome vision. But I just, for some reason, I don't expect ever to go anywhere with it.
No, me neither. Well, that's.
But if we could get your stuff in a company with like some sort of bolstering thematic thing going on with it, like maybe it has like a laser show that goes with your record, like it's a really involved light show. That would be the thing we add to it. You could play in every fucking Comic-Con, or like, you know what I mean, like,
right?
Like there would be a niche for it because it's great music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I released that record in 2016, and after it came out, I was just I just lost momentum completely because it came out and I worked so hard on it, and then it came out and I thought, damn. Now the work really starts if I want to do something with this, because the only thing that's going to be able to be done with this is it's going to have to be played with a pit band of some kind.
Yeah.
Like it have to be a string section and a rock band, and then how do you translate to any venue around here? And then comes all the expenses that would come with that. And I was already kind of in the hole making that album anyway. It was kind of expensive, so it's like crap. I made it, and then I felt proud because I could do it, and I did. But then after it was over, I thought, oh man, like, do I really want to put all the time into this and then push it any further? And I kind of thought about it and thought, no.
Would you ever entertain reducing it for like a Mellotron patch or something?
Maybe. I mean, it would be tough to do. Like the keyboard. It would have to be 2 keyboard players, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Or like one with multiple units, because it's like, and I don't know. I don't know if I would do. I mean, I'd be maybe interested in doing it with Mellotron because that's a really cool sound. But the only problem is there's a tune with Mellotron on it.
Oh.
So it's like
there's patches too. There's samples too, right?
Yeah, I know. I like that idea, but part of me thinks like if you're doing a bunch of goose eggs with samples, you might as well be on a track. Yeah. And then I just kind of don't like the idea of being on a track.
Yeah, I know.
So, I mean, I love the idea of performing it. It's never been done. And I don't know if it will be. Maybe like if I ever got on with some kind of like local like small orchestra or something that wanted to produce a show out of it, then maybe that would happen.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What about a guitar ensemble?
Maybe.
I think you can pull off.
Yeah, I think for my future goals with original music, I think this year I just want to throw 6 or 7 lead sheets at a band and record a live off the floor album, and then do a bunch of guitar overdubs, and that way it's something that if I ever want to hire a band to have a one-off gig sometime, then I've got these lead sheets, and that'll be that. I'm fine with that. I don't need an intensely, rewarding solo career or anything. I just like the idea of having tunes that are out there and composing and playing. It doesn't need to like be a big hit or anything. I think just the odd time sending tunes out into the world, I'm good enough with that.
Yeah, I often think like that too. And I mean, you once told me that you just love to play.
Yeah, the reason why, I used to do a record a year, and I think now I'm much more happy just playing tunes that people want to hear.
Yeah.
Like, it feels a lot better to go out there and be like,
Yeah, totally.
But
that people want to hear. Yeah.
But I have a lot of fun just being part of something bigger than me.
Yeah.
Because I did a lot of work. Like, I worked really hard. Like, I got like a bulletin board here with a bunch of posters of gigs that I did and that I put together, and I fond memories from a lot of them for sure. But would I do that again? Maybe, but not to the extent that I did back then. I was just young, and I thought it was what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Like 7 years ago. 7 years ago, just like throwing original tunes out there and putting together album release shows. And I think I didn't realize how selfish I was being at the time, because I'd go to like the now torn down Michael's Bar and Grill or whatever it was, and play gigs there all the time. Yeah, I'd play there all the time, and I always think like, man, like, what's the problem here? Like, we put so much work into this, and no one really cares. And like, when I think back on that, I'm like, of course no one gave a shit. It's like, no one gives a shit about that. That's so cerebral, and just a bunch of guys just like soloing over chord changes and weird melodies and stuff. It's like, of course no one gives a shit.
Is that why you call them vanity projects?
Yeah.
Because they're ultimately for you.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know if that's all that ignoble. Doing something purely for you, not expecting any money and not even expecting anybody to like it. That could be thought of as the opposite of selfish.
Maybe. I don't really know. I don't even know what I was thinking back then. I think I was just doing it because I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to be part of a community, and I wanted to throw it out there. And for some people, like the people that liked it, really liked it. And I had people that came out every single time for it, but it was a very niche thing.
Yeah.
And I gained kind of a reputation for it, which, do I like that rep? Maybe. I don't really know. I don't think it paints a whole picture now, though. That's for sure. Like, I think nowadays I just have a lot more fun throwing a really heavy compressor on and grooving on the D'Angelo shit. That's some of my favorite stuff to do. That and some of the stuff that we're going to end up playing. Like, I don't know, I just like I like locking in with a drum set on a clean guitar sound and being part of a big pocket. That's my favorite thing these days.
Oh, yeah, me too, obviously. Ever since I started singing, I realized that it doesn't matter too much what I'm singing. It's just more about the craft of singing. It's been like that for a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know, though. I kind of do have this burning desire to write songs, though.
Me too. I love
like I kind of have to do it. I have to make my own stuff.
Me too.
But honestly, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, nowadays, the extent of that to me can just be like having a buck of lead sheets and just throwing them in front of a band and setting up some mics and then recording a record every couple of years. Yeah. That's enough for me. And then the odd time being like, if there's a spot open for a couple hours at some kind of venue that's really like quiet or something, and they just want to have like a little whatever, it's like jazz thrice removed, but you know what I mean? Just like some kind of like progressive, whatever the hell you call it, background instrumental thing. Then who wants to play some of my stuff to improvise over?
Yeah.
I got tunes. You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's like when you think of it when you put it that way, and you envision the environment where that kind of stuff goes down, it's like it's actually quite common. It's actually quite common to have like an avant-garde evening at a lot of different kinds of places. So it's like it's not like it's completely inaccessible.
No.
And to me, I feel like I know you say you're not hooked on having like a hugely successful solo career, and like I don't think I say this from that place that I feel like you need to be appreciated for all the work you've done. I'm just like I feel with if there's anybody who would like it, there's probably thousands of people who would like it. You know?
Yeah.
And like that's what you just learn. You learn more and more when you get into online marketing ideas. And it's like if you wanted to, and you put it out there, you could find your micro niche. And it turns out globally, your micro niche is 10,000 people.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because it reminds me of a conversation I had with Lee one time. And I said to him, because he was living in Los Angeles at the time, he was kind of on the way out of living in Los Angeles because he didn't really like it there, and it just for multiple reasons. But anyway, one thing I was talking to him about at the time was I said he'd gone up to the Baked Potato and he had run into some people that he sort of knew from having been at MI, like notable musicians in town and stuff. And I said, so like what's the creative like avant-garde scene like in Los Angeles, like the whole like progressive, the Mats Morgan band, the Virgil Donati whole scenario, like what is there a scene for that? And he goes, no, it's just like scattered people around the world talking on the internet. There's no like central like collective scene for this shit,
It's like the Jazz Messengers,
Yeah.
No longer a thing. Like
it's a bunch of people who are scattered about the world.
Yeah.
It's not like because each town's going to have its central thing, and largely it's going to be a very common denominator thing, which is fine. I mean, people want to hear radio stuff. They want to hear stuff because it's very selfish to assume that people on a weekend who are going out to a club or something want to hear something that's going to challenge them. Yeah. Really, you'd think the opposite. They want to go out there and forget what the hell happened this week.
Right.
And I'm down to do that with them at this point. So I think it's just maybe I don't really want to use the word wisdom because I find that's very self-centered, but maybe it's a wisdom thing. Like I'm kind of in it with everyone now, like kind of rooting for everyone. Like I just want to play music for people that makes them feel happy, and the odd time I'll play the pretentious, play at an art gallery and play lead sheets or something, because that's for people who want to feel mind boggled. Then sure, I'll do that too.
Hold on, man. It's like imagine, like I want to invoke the power of language. It's like when I listen to your album, it's got the spaceship on the front. It's like if it were very clear in all of your promotion that your tour, let's say, your body of work was space themed. You know what I mean? If you could somehow, in not too cheesy of a way, put it out, or maybe in a very cheesy way, maybe that's what you want. Mm-hmm. Just somehow very simply get it out there that this is space themed. I feel like the people who would be interested in that would all of a sudden appear. You know what I mean?
You're right.
Whereas if you didn't define it so clearly, it would just be this avant-garde jazz thing nobody knows what to expect. Mm-hmm. But what if you just said it was space themed? Even if it isn't space themed, I'm not just directly talking about you. But what if you were willing to do something like that for just a small chunk of your work that you were going to like shop around a little bit? I feel like for just the example of space themed would attract a lot of people.
Two things I could have done a lot better. I could have set aside the dough and mastered it for putting it as an LP and printing like 50 or 100 of them. Just because that artwork would have looked really good on that, and I probably would have sold a fair few, and it would have been really good under that medium. And two, Yeah, probably doing something a little bit more explicit like that. But I mean, like, I looked into the idea of advertising campaigns before I put it out, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I was discouraged or if I felt like by the point that the time that album was done, I think I felt like, okay, I'm ready to do the next thing, and I was exhausted by the idea of it. And really, it's like if you want an album to get anywhere, you got to hire a publicist. You know, it just kind of has to be done. And I never did any of that, and I don't know. I don't really feel like I felt like, especially now I've slowed down now, and I think anything I do now going forward, I'm gonna really take my time on. But I just come out of a couple of years where I was like, okay, I got to release something every year. You know, I got to put out now, put out now, put out now. And I think the reason why I was doing that is because I was in the business world at the time, and I felt like if I didn't do it, then I would fade into obscurity. But now I'm out there playing all the time with people, and I'm working at the shop, and I'm kind of down in the weeds and the shit with everything in the city, and I don't feel as much pressure to put out content to feel like I'm not fading away from everything.
Right. Yeah, you're in the community.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas I wasn't before, unless I made it happen. Right. But now I feel a lot less pressure. So if I ever did put out another album, I think I would be a lot more patient with it, and I wouldn't feel like, okay, now I feel this motivation to do the next thing again. Right. So I think that's definitely what halted me on that record, was feel like I didn't want to sink even more dough into it because I was already, several thousands of dollars into making this thing, and I didn't want to throw another two at a publicist or something.
Yeah.
When I was just going to end up feeling like, okay, shit, what's the next move now?
Yeah.
I was going to say, all things considered, though, I mean, for an album on Bandcamp, decent amount of traffic. I mean, I think it as much as you can get on your own, I think.
Yeah. Banking.
So yeah, I mean, I'm pretty, grateful from the response I've had on it. I mean, it's not like really, I haven't really got a whole lot of response from it.
How many have you sold?
Actually, did I sell more? I think I sold maybe like 100 copies.
That's something.
Which is like, nowadays is okay. Pretty low. I mean, like, I remember reading something like Morgan Agren, who's like one of my favorite drummers. He's from Umeå, Sweden. I remember reading something one time that made me feel really good. Not really good in the sense that, like, okay, I should rephrase that. Made me feel closer to what the standard of the industry is right now. Whereas, like, he released an album and he sold like 500 or something. Yeah. And I was like, okay. So, okay. I see where everything stands now.
See how that works, though. If you released an album every year, you would only need to come out with one masterpiece, one huge like life work masterpiece for people to want to go and check out your other albums. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you could get good sales on one album, you'd probably get good traffic on all your subsequent albums and all your previous albums.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you happen to have a lot of albums, by the time you put out your masterpiece, you'd probably just make that much more money. But people would listen to all those albums, and if they weren't as great as that one that hooked them, they'd probably stop following the rabbit down the hole.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, I mean, the thing doesn't work, does it? I mean, Bandcamp just does not get people rich.
No, I like it because like I don't really pay any money to use it, and like they take like I don't know what percentage of cut it is, but $7, they take $2 or something. So I get $5 every time I sell, and I just end up pouring that money on PayPal into stupid stuff like, oh, I need an HDMI cable, or like, it's like it doesn't really like. It's like minor inconvenience money.
Yeah, it doesn't get reinvested.
Yeah, exactly. No, it doesn't get reinvested at all.
Your avant-garde.
Like, gonna buy this stupid video game, or buy an HDMI cable, or order a shirt.
Or space inspiration.
Yeah, that's right. It's I remember when it came out. there was quite a few people who paid more. Well, that's the interesting thing. Is I noticed a lot of people round up when you can pay more. It's like the average person will pay $10 when I'm asking $7.
Well, so, if anyone's going to pay it all, they're doing it because they think it's a good thing. So yeah, I can see why.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think it's interesting because that came from a time of a lot of stress and uncertainty as to what I was doing. It's like I wasn't doing it. I wasn't really doing it for the reason of, because it really, if I was really gonna really try to make it happen, I would have maybe spent 2 years making one and making it really good, and then spending the dough I would have made spent on the first one on promoting it and like properly putting together a live show, like rehearsing a band properly. Yeah, because I mean, like I was just starting, and I didn't really have the same sort of network as I do now, and I didn't really hire as many musicians as I should have, and it ended up sounding kind of empty. And
really?
So I mean, that was just with the first couple things I did. Like, it's like a lot of layers, and I play with a trio, and it's just like it doesn't really work. And now I just I feel the desire to make a record because it's been almost 3 years, but this time it's just going to be, like have a couple tunes, rehearse the band on it, then record them, and then have a lot of fun at home recording guitar overdubs and solos and stuff. That's going to be the procedure.
Yeah.
Cool. So
I look forward to it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the move now. Is like you send out and you pay people properly. Like you send out lead sheets to a group of people who are going to be in your rhythm section. Send them out 6 or 7 tunes and say, here's when we rehearse. Here's the recording date. Here's how much you get paid for rehearsal. Here's how much you get paid for the date. Yes, no. Basically.
Well, yeah. I mean, I've always liked to operate like that. I mean, there's no other way to do it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's tough because the production process is always interesting because you can cheap out on the studio space, so you can rent gear and make an alternative space. But then, and I've done that many times before. In fact, I've always done that. Like when I recorded Martin, he just swung by my apartment and we just did it in a spare room in an apartment with like a bunch of sound isolation up. But when you do stuff like that, you can't really document it, because it's like I recorded in an industrial warehouse at an office I worked at. It's like, can I even do video here? Like, it doesn't make any sense because this is a business. This is like after hours at this like private bunch of industrial equipment around everywhere. You just can't really promote. You can't really use that as content.
Right.
So it's like, do you fork out the money
a nice space
to go to a nice space, like to go to a proper studio, just so you can shoot all this content, like making of this record or whatever, because that's kind of integral shit now.
It is integral.
Yeah. If you don't have it and they just drop audio on people, they're just like, okay, what's this album?
Yeah.
So do you? It's finding that, like, because everyone's tight on dough, So to find, either you put in the time to get the grant money, and if you don't, then you save the money. And if you don't have enough, then you find an alternative space and rent gear. But then if you find an alternative space, you run the risk of not being able to record any video there because it's just going to look thrown together.
Yeah.
And that's been my scenario every single time. And I've always wanted to do making of documentaries. I love the idea of like talking to people through the process, the photographs, getting like video of people playing and talking about and talking about them, like, the banter and the day of making it and the rehearsals and everything. I love all that.
Yeah, man. Like, you're right. It's an integral part of the content.
Yeah, but you can't get it if you're recording in a garage or something.
No.
So it doubly costs more money. It's like, do you pay to make appearances?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's always been my problem. And so always tried to make spaces, and then I couldn't I could have, but it's like too self-conscious to even bother. It's like, why would I record these videos where I'm like, there's a bunch of like hockey bags in this garage that we're recording in. It would look stupid. It's like, what are you doing?
I just think you're making all these thoughts going through my mind. Like, I was talking about, like, if we were to have this company, we would request like a standard of press for the submission, because that standard of press would prove to us, and we could use it to shop that band to our clients. So it's like, it's asking basically original artists like you and I, it's asking you to pay the extra money to get it done, so that you can be part of our company, in the hopes that you get that corporate money. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, that seems to be the situation. And when you describe all that, it's like, I'm trying to make a situation where going that extra mile is worth it. Because if you go that extra mile, there might actually be an opportunity for you.
Yeah. It's having faith in it. And I definitely think back then I didn't. You know, it's throwing that extra couple grand at getting a space and and hiring someone to video and document.
Yeah.
Not just cutting as lean as you can just to get a product out there. You know, it doesn't make as much sense. But I mean, it's an investment for sure, and really, like, and I've done little like making of and interview documentaries before, and it's fun. I mean, really, it doesn't take that respectable of a space. Like, it just has to be not obviously put together. Like, if you had a blank room, a blank performance room, then why not?
Exactly. Blank performance room, like a nice microphone.
Yeah.
Decent lighting.
Yeah. I do, like, it is a craving of mine. Like, I'd love to be on an album or be making an album where you actually make it in a studio. You know, there's a console, there's an engineer. It's all done in a nice vibe studio. Like, I've never done that, and I would love to do it.
Man, I wish I'd known you better back about 7 years ago. I used to go in all the time and record with the students at Da Vinci Institute.
Oh, yeah.
You hear that?
I mean, I know the place, but I mean, I don't know what their studio is like down there.
They were good. They were fine. I don't know. I think that school just closed down, but.
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, it was great. And I went in and they had all this professional gear, sound booths, isolation, everything. It was just the College of Performing Arts, or Recording Arts. Sorry. And the students would practice doing productions. And I got an in to be talent for them to practice with. So I recorded all kinds of stuff with them. It was probably like 3 years in a row. I went in for like a bunch of different projects, and it was like, oh yeah, I got all this studio time in. And like, I started getting through just the frustration and like what it takes to work in a studio for those long hours, and like just like keeping your mind together and like staying focused, and like, I mean, it's a real something to achieve. Because if you never worked in a studio before, well, I mean, you know what I mean, because it's not about being in a studio or recording anywhere else. It's just the recording process. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It just takes time to sort out all the sounds and the gear, getting everything right. Mistakes are always made, especially when there's students. Mistakes were always made. We have to re-record stuff. Right take, and then you don't realize it didn't come off.
I thought for years that I just hated guitar sounds in the studio. I thought for years that they just always just sounded like crap, and that you had to do it on your own to get it right. And I think it's just because there's so many like paradigms that occur in a studio that when you go in there and you try to do it and record and you think this is normal, it's like, this is so uninspiring. Like, who like say this is your amp, who like listens to an amp like with their ear right there next to an amp, like you put a 57 right in dead center of the cone. It's like, you got to put a little bit of butter on that in the ears, or else you're just gonna like, sounds like mosquito's ball sack. It sucks. But you learn over time what you need to do. Like, I have this little preamp on my studio desk here, like a little warm audio, like an API clone preamp. That I bring my 57 and I bring that, and I know exactly where I like a 57. It's like everyone. It's a rush thing, and you trust the engineer every time because they and good for them. They're tradespeople, so they know what is done all the time. But it's like you gotta have so many shitty experiences in the studio before you know exactly what you need to do.
Yeah.
Like I'm only starting to get a grip on it now. I feel like I could go into a recording studio now and bring certain equipment and feel like, okay, I'm gonna provide a good performance because I know what to do now.
Yeah.
Whereas you just like, I had so many different types of microphones that I was putting on amps and like trying to like make it sound warm naturally. Doing it's like no, it's like you gotta fail so many times.
Yeah. You just don't know what you like and you don't know how to achieve what you do.
Yeah, because if right from the start your tone or your overall sound and stuff is just garbage, you're just gonna play like ass.
Yeah.
Like, and you're just like me in that way. Like, if you're fighting with something and something sounds like shit, you're just like fuck. It's like fuck. This sucks. You know, it really like I sometimes I think like, is it a bad thing to be this affected by tone? But I don't think it is.
Oh no.
I think it's fine. You should be really picky about that stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
You won't have any friends, but you know it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean it's you gotta at least have some sort of standard as to how that stuff's supposed to sound. And the studio's brutal for that. Like if you don't go in there and kind of self-engineer a little bit, then you're gonna get eaten alive.
Yeah.
You know,
they'll take your music and just make a monstrosity out of it.
Yeah, you gotta self-engineer a little bit. And not to say that engineers are useless or anything, but they don't know, they're not you.
Yeah.
Right? They don't know. They know what works, like they know how to make where to put a microphone to get a generally accepted sound, but you know.
Yeah, I've been through it. Pat, I wanted to ask you about your job as an accountant.
Sure.
I remember you told me a little story not long ago, and I thought it was quite in line with what I was doing here on the podcast with my business aspirations.
Mm-hmm.
You worked as an accountant.
Mm-hmm.
It was like you were on your way to, being one of the top jobs in the city. You were going to be one of those, like if you stuck with it, you were going to be one of those millionaire guys.
Certainly the opportunity for it.
Yeah.
In the long run. Yeah.
In the long run, you would have been one of those high-powered, you were with this big firm and everything. Mm-hmm. And you left it because you wanted to play guitar. Is that is that inaccurate? Or?
No, that's pretty much a summary of it, I would say.
Like that's a ballsy move, man. It's like I'm really interested in these topics where we have this like spiritual pull for something that we just have to do.
Yeah. It's I find it interesting you say ballsy. I mean, from the outsider's perspective, well, outsider is the wrong word. From an outside perspective, it may appear to be ballsy, but much as it may have been, I think at the time, I don't think I was thinking about it that way. I think it was like I was cornered. I just had to get out. It wasn't like I'm gonna fight the odds and get out of here. It's like no, I have to get out of here.
Yeah.
Like it was, and I have no disrespect for the profession. In fact, I have a massive amount of respect for it and for the company that I work for. Which, for the sake of being respectful, I won't mention anything because I don't want to. But anyway, it was a really high class firm, and I really respect what they do there. But I think just the overall social circle, the style of people around, the senses of humor, like often fell flat, and just the overall work, like the style of it. I just didn't think like the amount of hours that would go into eventually being able to maybe like consider playing music again on a professional level was worth it. Right. I'd rather be, I live in a pretty modest apartment here. This is fine. This is fine. This is good. This is good living to me.
Yeah.
You know, I am very happy to be blue collar.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very happy. I'm very happy to be blue collar. It's just who I am. You know, I want to be down in the weeds and the shit with people.
Yeah, that's awesome. It seems to be like you saw the job trap before you were trapped by it, which was like, you know, great foresight on your part. There's a lot of people get trapped in those jobs because, I mean, a lot of people, as human beings, a lot of us have aspirations that we might want to have kids or a family. You know what I mean? And like they're providing for a family. That's basically the story. I want to be able to provide for a family, so I have to take this job where I will definitely get paid enough and I have the security. Then I will have what I need to achieve as a man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know it's very typical script stuff, and in fact, you know, I still feel it in me. I still I'm leaving that job, like right around the same time I got the job. I started living alone, and now it's been maybe 3.5 years I've lived alone, and it was like a stark contrast. You know, it's like I was working for so long and like fighting to get this position because I thought it was, you know, I was getting it for everyone but me.
Yeah.
You know, it's like and my family was bragging about me and saying like, oh, you know, Patrick's got this job with this big firm, and you know, everyone's so proud. And it's like that gave me like nice warm validation.
Yeah.
And I think, and I learned that that's a really negative thing to inspire you, because at the end of the day, you get home and you have to do more extracurricular stuff because that was the terms of the job. I was on a path for the CPA path. And the more that this thing sat in the corner, it was dreadful. It sucked. It was like, what am I living for? Like, there's nothing, it's all like for other people's satisfaction and knowledge that, oh, look at this guy, he's made it, or he's going to make it. When really in the back of my mind, I was like, I don't want any of this shit.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm fine I'm very simple, you know, very simple. And the more the time went on, I thought, I'm gonna make the move and I'm gonna get out of here. I found an exit with the shop, which has really been awesome. I couldn't be happier with that because that was my way out. But
yeah, that's good.
It took a lot of mental fighting because you're constantly fighting against that script that you're raised with, right? Like you'd mentioned, you know, find the way to be a man and be successful enough to raise kids and support someone. And it's like, I don't want to do that. I want to support me. I want to support me in here.
Yeah.
You know, that should come first.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said it early and you came back to a life of avant-garde jazz where nobody appreciates it.
Yeah.
That's just way more satisfying.
Yeah.
Nobody appreciates it. No,
yeah, exactly. Supporting a fruitless endeavor. But and I did a lot of thinking because at the same time that I left that path and like my entire family was just like, what the hell are you doing? Yeah. I started living alone, and so it was this crazy coinciding series of events where it's like I took the leap. I'm dealing with the whole thing of like not being around people all the time, so that kind of fucks your brain a little bit. And really just like a lot of internal, like trying to shatter the myths, you know. And I still fight that stuff all the time. It's like, oh well, shouldn't you be thinking about investing in this? Or like, it's like, no, like there's no script here. Like it doesn't matter. Like I could decide to never build a family, never have a child, and that's totally fine. And in fact, I'd be happy with that path so long as this is still here. Hey, that's first and foremost, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's like call me overly dedicated, but I think it was just like I'd always had the music thing going on in my life, and that's what I am. Yeah. And then I thought, let's get something to, you know, the whole security thing, and I fell into that trap. And I'm not saying I regret doing it, but I certainly learned a lot about myself and shattered some some myths about North American life in the process.
Well, I mean, that's why I say it's a ballsy move, because you're confronted with yourself now.
Yeah.
All you have is yourself to deal with every day, face to face. So it's like, a lot of people are incapable of doing that. Those hours alone. Like, it's something that I think a man has to do and be doing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean to wax inspirational now.
No.
But I think there might actually be another myth that maybe you might not be seeing, and that is, I think there are lots of people out there that if you knew, or if you were willing, or if you had just an idea of how to take a step towards it, you could promote yourself in a way, in your original shit in a way, and your personality to go with it in a way. Like you were talking about how you have to have that visual press, how you have to have that visual element when you're, it's crucial when you're putting out a record, let's say. It's like, there's definitely a way you could find a way to reach those people who would supremely dig your shit and your personality. And like I said, I don't want to wax inspirational now, but it's like, there might be a myth there. It almost sounds like you might be adopting this idea that it's like, well, I could have all those good things, but I choose my life instead. You know what I mean? I don't think it has to be instead.
No, I see what you're saying.
You be successful with what you do.
Yeah, it's true. You're right.
It's possible. I mean, I always say, don't ever close the door to that possibility. I just wanted to make sure that you hadn't closed the door to that possibility.
I think a lot. That makes a lot of sense. But I think a large part of, I guess I should rephrase what I mean, is like, I've set myself up so that I could live a really simple life. Like, it's just me. So if I take a leap and it fails, then it's just me. And I've been thinking a lot too about selfishness. It's like, is it always bad to be a selfish person? I don't think so. I think it's only bad to be a selfish person if other people are on the line. Like, if I had, an immediate family that I was helping raise or something, and I was like, I'm not going to be around, sorry, I'm just going to go do my thing and not be part of this, then that's negative selfishness, I think. But it's only me on the line, so where's the problem, really? It's almost positive. It's like, you're living within the means and not affecting anyone else.
Yeah.
But that's been something I've kind of been confronted with a lot too. And I think about my own original stuff all the time, but mainly, and that's part of the thing too. I still feel that residual pressure. It's like, do I always want to put out original music? No, not always. A lot of the time I find joy in just playing with you and with the other guys and making tunes and like putting together covers and the odd original, playing your tunes. I love all that stuff. I like being a community member. I think if I'd choose, I think I'd take being a community member.
That's the important
with the odd original tune out there, maybe over being a estranged solo artist, if I had to choose. Because I really like being involved in the community. That's like, I really like that.
Yeah, same thing, man. Ever since I hit there, it's like, you get wiser and you start realizing what's actually important to you.
Yeah, you start realizing that stuff, and that's what I realized I like. Like, I like the size of Halifax. I like being part of the community. I just want to dig into that.
Yeah.
And that's really important to me. But it's really hard sometimes to try to discern what you really want in life. Like, you have to think, like, do I want this, or do I want it because I know that other people want me to want it? It's tough to pick that apart. It's like, you got to think, like, and I've been trying really hard. It's like, do I want, like, let's say, for example, I don't want to dig too deep into personal life, but like, do I want, like, what do I want in romance? Like, do I want to dedicate a lot to that, or do I want to just because it's seen as a success to the public?
Yeah.
Do that. Like it's hard for me to determine that sometimes. It's like, do I actually feel motivated to do this, or do I feel motivated to do that because it's what you're told to do your whole life? This is the sort of, like, you go out, you court, you succeed, you build a family. It's like, is that something that you truly want to do, or are you told that you want to?
Well, you know how I think about that? I feel like sometimes you don't expect when you're going to fall in love with someone, and then you start thinking that way. But before that happens, when I think about it, I can also come to the fact that I would like to have that, because I've discovered the joy of life isn't always moving, isn't change. I feel like that sort of terrifying change of like having a child, you know what I mean? That is a rite of passage in life that I do not want to miss out on. You know what I mean? If it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be devastated. But it's like, if it's there to be experienced, and it is a rite of human passage, yes, even my logical mind will agree. I want to take part in that. I want to experience that if I can reasonably. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like that partly fuels my motivation to just somehow step up my music career game, so that I'm just playing a little bit bigger somehow. You know what I mean? I'm trying to go for corporate money specifically, so that I can do my thing and help other people like me promote original output, because I think that's important, and get to a place where I might actually be able to have both and not shut off that possibility. Because I feel like if I never shut off that possibility and I work towards it every single day, single people have changed the course of history in the past. You know what I mean? With their vision. If I have a vision that's completely clear, and I work every single day with cooperation of others who can share my vision, yes, in a small town like Halifax, I think it's very possible I could change the industry in that way. Halifax could become a hub for original artists in a different way than it ever has before. In that original artists are getting hired for weddings and shit all of a sudden. They're getting, you know what I mean? They're getting called for corporate events because their press kit was just like so electrifying. People are actually just taking the art for what it is, rather than whether or not they're playing Michael Jackson or Stevie Wonder. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's almost like I'm trying to engage the audience on a visceral level, so that they're actually taking in the product and deciding for themselves whether or not they like it. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm trying to find a way to do that, and I'm trying to make it worth it for original artists to go that extra mile and invest in their own thing. All with the vision that if it can't be done, then maybe I don't want to bring a child into this world.
Right.
I don't know. It's like, it's not completely clear yet, but it's like, it's definitely in motion, and it's getting clearer and clearer and clearer.
That's interesting. Yeah, I feel I don't know if I've made a decision on it. I've become very analytical about how I feel about things in life. Like, what do I truly want? That's the main thing. It's like trying to feel more independent about my thought. Like, not like a should or could or should, actually just should. The moral part of it. It's like, what do I find most joy in? It's like, okay, well, I just like freedom. Freedom to be selfish about certain things.
That's what most people want, I think.
Freedom to, and you know what? I'm almost 28. I'm like, that could just change. But I do think I do still think I'm very like in tune with my mind and everything. I don't like the idea of like, oh, people, like something will just totally derail your life or you'll change your perspective on it. I mean, yes, but I'm trying to like figure that out now. Have a clear idea. Like, what am I okay with? Am I going to be okay just being on my own forever? It's like, probably. It's like, you know what I mean? It's tough. It's tough to determine. But I don't know, but I'm the same way as you. It's like, am I saying no to the idea of like changing the domestic scenario? No, in the right with the right thing. I mean, but I mean, like, so much about that whole scenario is so weird now. Like, people are xenophobic generally on a general basis, and like with with good reason in certain for certain in certain circumstances. So I can't blame people for being a bit xenophobic because terrible things happen.
Sorry, Pat, I'm listening. I just got.
Yeah, no problem. But it's just not something that's in my mind. It's like I just want to play music and write and go to work.
Yeah.
So.
Much. I mean, I'm just finding that's not enough for me now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like I'm finding. I don't know. Tell me if you went through this. Like when I was in my 20s and teenage years, my 20s, I had this. I really struggled for a long time with this thing, up until very recently, actually, where I couldn't understand how being in a state of flux, of like constant change and development, and of working towards something, and constantly growing and learning, could be a perpetual state of being. I couldn't understand how that continuous development could be a perpetual state of being. I had this idea in my mind. It's the only idea I could understand, that in order to be okay, you had to find out the right way of being and just stay there.
Interesting.
I don't know how to say it any better than that.
No, I get it. And I feel like that's interesting that you say that, because I feel like I always feel so like the thoughts that I'm having about myself are like I'm cementing these things. And maybe I shouldn't think that way, maybe because I mean, if I said these things to myself 10 years ago, I think that person 10 years ago would be like, really? Like this is it? Like, you're okay with this? That's it? But I guess, but then again, being that young, I didn't really know what the hell was going on anyways. I was just kind of, throwing shit up in the air and seeing what stuck. But I don't know, maybe I'm just not, maybe I'm just like, it's a defense mechanism thing, but that's an interesting point of view, because it's like recently I've made this declaration that, like, mediocre levels of success, like from a typical script perspective, isn't the end of the world to me. Like, I'm okay with it, blue collar life, 9 to 5, play gigs around town, be a part of the community. You're raised to like work hard and try to make as much freaking money as you can, and then go through the script and then retire and then all this. It's like, it's not healthy, especially for someone whose like value in life isn't like tangibles.
Yeah.
Like, sure, like this is a cool instrument and I've got some like interesting things around my apartment and stuff, but like the things that I truly enjoy in life are totally intangible.
Yeah, it's that sense of community. But I mean, you got to do something with your hands. Like,
oh yeah, of course. You can't just like sit around and become a piece of shit, but you still have to like hone a craft and be particularly good at something, and that's like kind of why it's like I'm just constantly tweaking the guitar and tweaking on that. And that's my thing. It's just I'm constantly obsessed with that. But
pass the time.
Oh really?
I didn't have any discipline when I was in my 20s. That was part of it. That was part of the blockage of how I couldn't see the right way of being. I didn't have the discipline to stick with anything long enough to see it change. It's like, I mean, to me, the way I thought being alive is factually, nobody can deny it, is a constant state of change and growth and decay and birth and death. You know what I mean?
Right.
Obviously, everybody knows that. It's right there in front of our face. If you are alive, you are continually changing. Your brain is changing, your body's changing, everything's chemically changing constantly all the time. Mm-hmm. And so this idea that I have to find the right way to be and stay there was almost like a death-like attitude. It wasn't realistic. It was like, But I was far too lazy to accept that living meant change, constant change. Like, to me, constant change meant effort, I think. Constantly changing meant effort. And I couldn't understand that the change was going to happen whether I put effort into it or not.
Right.
It's inevitable that it was actually effortless, because that's what life is. And I couldn't grasp that. And so I thought I had to put effort into change. And so I chose to stay the same. My mind unconsciously chose the lazy route, which was to find the right way of being, settle on that, and then not have to do anything ever again. Not have to worry about anything ever again, because I found the right way to be. Just to that point even more.
It's almost a defense mechanism of some kind.
Yeah.
You know, you're thinking like you don't want to go out into the unknown and make those changes and experience that difficulty. It's like a comfortable life. You know, you feel like you're stubbornly kind of staying away from it. It's interesting.
It's insane, actually. It's an insane perspective, because when you think about what a life is for like an organism or whatever, it's like, if you put it in these words, do you expect to never run into any problems? When you say it like that, you realize that it's completely insane. Of course you're going to run into problems. In fact, your life is a catastrophe. Being a primate on planet Earth is a fucking like catastrophe of crazy ups and downs, experiences, and like danger and like fear, and like it's a disaster. And all we can do is like just somehow organize it in a way so that there's some order, so that we can maybe realize the finer things about it. Mm-hmm. And that means rolling with the punches. You know what I mean? And like rolling with the punches. Yes, I think it does take effort to live. Does it? That's the question I want to ask you. Does it take effort to live? Or do we exert ourselves needlessly on things?
I think effort is intrinsic. Yeah. I think it takes effort. I think it takes effort to be happy. I think being positive takes a lot more work than being negative does.
Yeah.
Negativity is almost perverted in nature, because if you're addicted to negativity, it's almost like you're trying to find the lowest and most negative thing, and if you accept that, and there's no deeper you can go, then you feel almost a perverse sense of safety.
Yeah, you're budgeting for the worst. A perverse.
Yeah.
Perverse sense of safety. Yeah. I like that.
But to be happy and to be positive about stuff takes work. It takes work to be positive. You have to fight. You're constantly fighting things.
Setbacks.
You know, to have a positive outlook, to be optimistic, it takes consistent work.
Yeah.
And I don't know if maybe it's something like it's a muscle that you the more that you flex that muscle, the more that it's going to interact in a way that it won't feel like work anymore, just because you're trained to think that way. But
habit,
yeah, I think. Well, there's also that the term, like, the pessimist is never disappointed. You know, people feel like that. If you expect the worst, then there's no disappointment. There's no surprises. Only bonuses.
Yeah, only bonuses.
Yeah, only like pleasant surprises, never negative ones.
Yeah.
But it's thinking logically, like, do you net a benefit overall being positive during all the negative space, or is it safer to be negative generally and then feel like there are no surprises?
There's a problem with the question. The problem is why we are interested in the safer option when it comes to no real danger. Actually, it's just a frame of mind.
All right.
There's no danger in when you're disappointed. That is not a dangerous situation.
Right.
I feel like if we could develop a habit to face up to disappointment, maybe it would cease to be disappointment. Maybe it would just be rolling with the punches.
Taking it on the chin and moving on.
Yeah, like maybe rolling with the punches has an intrinsic joy to it that is on a whole nother level than just getting your way all the time, getting your way. You know what I mean? It's a different kind of satisfaction.
It's a deep frame of mind. Like I'd always, for a long time, I'd been a chronic worrier. Worried, even as a child. I remember being worried about everything. Like a tropical storm would come through, and I'd be worried, like, is this going to blow down a fence? Or like, I'd be worried and scared of the wind as a kid. I'd be worried, like, oh, what's going to happen next week? Like, just worried, like constantly thinking about, like, oh, summer vacation's coming to an end of the world.
Yeah, I know. I hate that.
End of
the world. I know.
It's like so stupid when you think it's like so microcosmically, but then you can think about that with anything. It's like the modern equivalent would be like, oh, geez, like my vacation's almost done, or like, oh, geez, like I didn't make as much money as I thought I would. I'm kind of behind, or like, it's like, you gotta zoom out for a second and try to, because what's it gonna do being all like worried about everything? Is it gonna change anything? No.
Oh.
It's not gonna change anything. Worry. Sorry, go ahead.
Kind of like self-manufactured disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe being disappointed is my fault for being disappointed.
I mean, it takes two to tango. I mean, like the scenario can be bad, but it's handling it is another thing too. I guess it's just, and maybe this will all kind of come full circle, like being able to process and digest what you think is disappointment, and like how to not like worry about the intent. Maybe that'll give you a clear picture of what you want. Because I'm sure a lot of the worry and the anticipation and the dread that people feel is due to our mental script that we have in our minds that's set up from birth. Like, oh, maybe I should be working more on this, or maybe I should be out doing this, or maybe I shouldn't have spent this money on that because I didn't save as much money, or I have a balance on I have debt, or like, it's like, what does it matter? And those are all shoulds that are ultimately designed by someone else.
Well, I'm finding interesting answers to that kind of thing, and I don't have all the answers, but for myself, when you're talking about like that inner fortitude, like there's a reason they say the delay of gratification is important, and that's not the outside world telling you to do something,
right?
Because it actually works. Like it develops that inner fortitude. And why is the inner fortitude valuable? Well, the inner fortitude allows you to roll with the punches, so you're not disappointed as much. Mm-hmm. And you get that inner fortitude is a satisfaction in itself, and that you know that you can handle shit. You know what I mean? Right. And to me, that's what being a man is. It's not having kids. It's not like having a house or like having a big salary. It's having inner fortitude. It's being able to roll with whatever you dealt with, and still have a happy life. So it's like things like that. You can really ask yourself, how would it benefit me to, for example, not spend this couple of bucks right now? Can I see how it would benefit me to delay gratification right now? And like, if you're aware of that shit, then you find a lot of those decisions of what does it matter actually have answers. If you're truly committed to changing and getting better.
Right.
And it's like, it's an amazing path. But I mean, I shouldn't be talking because I'm out of a job right now. I'm staying with my parents. Like, I'm at a really low point right now. So like, I'm really waxing optimistic because it's all I got, Pat.
Whatever.
But no, life is good though. But yeah, we kind of went deep, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, these are things that are like, because I think about this stuff all the time now, and it's been a part of my journey over the past little while. And everyone always told me, they said, like, your late 20s are going to be kind of like moderately fucked up in your mind. You're going to go through some bizarre self analysis, and then you'll get spat out into the 30s, and then you'll figure it out. Just like, I don't know. There's no time limit on any of this stuff. I mean, I like to like think about what is the most condensed happy things that I have in my life. Like my brother's having a kid soon. I'll focus on that. Cut up the instrument. Got some good friends. Playing some good music.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like there's a whole. What's that?
At the end of the day, it does just have to come down to that, because you don't know where you're going and what's going to happen. So it's like
no.
We just have to settle the fact that things are okay. I can deal with this.
Yeah. Also, Halifax is too damn small to be on Tinder. So it's like I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I'm not going there.
Too damn small.
It's too damn small.
You got to go Bunburying and Tantallon. Bunburying?
What's that?
Do you know Bunburying, that term?
Oh, I thought you said barn burning. I was like, what?
Oh no, Bunburying. It's from The Importance of Being Earnest by Oscar Wilde.
Okay.
Who goes Bunburying, and it means you put on like clothes that you don't normally wear, and you put on like a different personality.
Right.
Go into another town and you court other girls, against your girlfriend back home. So you just go around to other towns pretending you're someone else in order to impress these girls. And like you go Bunburying. So you do that from town to town to town. So if you go on Tinder, you're gonna have to go Bunburying and Tantallon.
Oh God, Tantallon, yeah. It's a weird thing. It's like I'm totally, I've become quite happy on my own. Not to like dive into this topic too far, but yeah, I can't get into that scene, man. The online scene. It's just so bizarre to me.
I haven't even come close to it. It's just too fucking weird.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Facebook has a dating thing now.
Really?
What's that?
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, there's like I was on it recently. I looked through and I was like, "What? There's dating here?" I was like, "I'm not touching that."
I'm not even against it. I'm not against it at all. It's been around for years, this kind of thing. But
no, exactly. I don't care. I'm not against it, but I can't.
The first meetup is just more than I can bear. I'm sorry, I couldn't go through with it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know I'm definitely not what you were expecting.
It's like,
my head looks a little smaller, probably. I often get that.
I get that often.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know it's a bizarre cultural thing, man. I mean, you know what? I get it. Like I get it. I totally get why it exists. But I don't know. It's like it's not worth it to me to do that. To go to do that, like you like it's like, what do you do on your phone? Oh, I don't know. I'm gonna order McDonald's and then look for a boyfriend. It's like it's like no. Yeah, or in my case, look for whatever. It's like I like a McDouble and a redhead, please.
Pizza, could you stop by this address and bring my boyfriend with you as well?
It's like it's such a weird thing to me, and like I think maybe that like kind of goes down to my my community mentality. Is like I just want to be out there and seeing people, and if I end up meeting someone cool, then sure, but not to go on this like these dating things. It like you're out there declaring it's a pursuit.
Yeah, I know.
It's like just being there. It's like I am pursuing.
Yeah.
You're making that statement, going out there doing that. And is that a negative thing? No, because between two people, if they both know what the score is, then sure.
Yeah, maybe it's better.
Maybe it's better, but like.
But are you just interested in meeting new people? No.
But I mean, it's like if it happens organically, like you meet someone, then maybe you become a friend with them, and then maybe like it's like there's no nefarious, not nefarious. That's the wrong word. This isn't inherently evil, but it gives you the undistilled essence of what that person is, and then you get to know them, and then if it goes in that direction, it does. If not, then
Just chat. Yeah.
And you just got a friend now, you know? Yeah, so the whole, I mean, it's different strokes, literally.
I think for me, if it wasn't for music, I probably never ever would have went to a club in my entire life.
Oh God, no.
I probably still have never been to a club.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine if people were allowed to smoke cigarettes in bars still?
God, I can't believe that happened.
Oh man, our lives would be terrible.
I remember a day when there was one day we were in the shopping mall and me and my little sister were like sharing a smoke outside of the record store in a mall. It's like it's so weird.
Yeah, I know.
Kids and old ladies all over the place. We're just smoking inside. Freaking weird.
Sometimes you go in places where there are remnants of it still in there.
Yeah.
Like the Sackville Boloramas like that.
Still the same ashtray.
Yeah, you go in there and it's like it's all carpet that hasn't been changed, and it's like
50s.
I know what this once was. You know, it's insane. Like even like my white guitars would be yellow.
Yeah. Nicotine. It's like a proper stain now. Nicotine.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
People nicotine stain that shit, man.
Yeah, nicotine. Oh yeah, it's gross, man. I think it's a better time in that regard, better standard of living. But I mean,
I used to smoke.
The downside is, would there be a lot more gig attendance if people could?
It might be. If it were still dirtier times, I bet it'd be a hipper place.
Yeah.
One thing I don't like is how we can't drink in the streets yet. How could they legalize pot and still not allow it open carry on the street? Spring Garden Road, that walking plaza, you should be able to walk around with a beer, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Go outside with a glass and it's like they're calling the cops on you. Like they're so, you know what I mean? You can't step off the balcony while you're talking to someone. You can't put one foot, you know what I mean? Out there and on you. It's like, why?
I know it sucks. It's like it's a cultural thing that for the first little while it would be pretty delinquent, but it's like when I've been in Berlin or
it's awesome.
various other places, it's just like, oh, I can do this. You know, it's like, okay, sure. And it's and no one's abusing it. It's like
it's normalized.
Yeah, just exactly.
The thing.
You don't have to condense it to a certain place and abuse it, because once you leave that place you can't.
Yeah.
You know, it just becomes a thing. It's like, are people out there eating like 20 caramels? You know, like in the middle of the street, like fuck. You know, like no. You know, but if there was a specific place that you could only eat them there, and you had to be a certain age to do it.
Yeah, I agree with that completely, man.
Then people would be abusing it like crazy. They'd be like, "Oh fuck, it's happy hour.
Gotta get him in.
You know, gotta get the fucking sweets into me, boy."
So we're doing.
Yeah.
Oh, so retarded.
Yeah, but there's the psychoactive element of it too. But like, inhibitions are lost. But there've been plenty of studies, and there's plenty of data out there to suggest that slapping people on the wrist for using something is going to make them go, oh, well, there's some value here. Oh. So then they end up abusing it. You know.
Ultimately, no matter what the rules are, you still have to trust people not to drive while they're drunk. You know what I mean? You still have to trust them. They can still get around to it if they want to. Like, what's the difference?
It would take a while though. You know, here if we just suddenly went, go ahead. You know, it would just be mayhem for a while. You know, yeah. I think it takes like a specific few things, like downtown Halifax during the day on that little on Argyle Street where they got like it's like a promenade now. I think you should be able to walk between bars with your drinks.
That's what I'm saying. There, at least the drinking the district there. It should be,
Yeah.
it should be a corridor where you're allowed to walk around with a beer.
Yeah, waterfront.
Awesome.
Take a beer. Take a walk along the waterfront and drink a beer. Yeah.
You smoke weed?
Never.
Oh,
I never
really?
do. What's,
No.
You don't either? No, I can't. I want to.
I wish I could.
Yeah, me too. So many people love it, and
Oh, really?
I'm a high strung.
Yeah, it worries me. I get paranoid.
Yeah, I'm a high strung person. My mind is really fast.
Yeah.
So if I partake, it's like I'm done. I can't do it. I need to make myself dumber to enjoy myself.
Yeah, totally.
You know, that's the score for me. It's like I can. My way of relaxing is just to be stupid.
Get stupid.
Yeah.
I haven't drank in like a couple of weeks. I'm giving her a rest. I'm doing good.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Have you stopped drinking for any stretch recently? You know,
No.
like, the clarity you get, like I'm really getting that now. It's beautiful.
Yeah. I know what you mean. You sort of feel you feel more dexterous too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel really dexterous. I know. I keep it to weekends now. It used to be pretty casual for me over the years, but I keep the weekends now. And I don't drink beer.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't drink beer anymore. And I haven't really. I was at my folks' place on the weekend, and there was some Guinness there, and I had a can of that, and I was like, oh fuck. It's like I've become very sensitive to it. Vodka water, strictly.
Wrapped around your liver.
Yeah. And I mean, like, that would be if I was to do one thing, that would be the next step of improvement for me. It would be to like go 5 months or something.
Oh wow. I went 4 months once.
Yeah, and like, but I mean, like, it's like getting rid of beer and only doing it like maybe once or twice a week, moderately. That's been a big improvement because I mean, like through your 20s, it's just like oh whatever, like you're so many social events and it's also normal to just go out and there's so many opportunities, you know. But
let's record another album. Like not drink until the album's done.
yeah, well, I mean, the other portion of it too is it's expensive.
Yeah.
You know, it's expensive to drink. So expensive. You know, it adds up. Like I would not want to see. I mean, who cares? I mean, it's just like seeing how much money you would have spent on food over the years. But I would never want to see how much money was spent on that. It would just be like, shit.
Hundreds of dollars a week or a month.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's
$100 a week. Like I was that bad once.
Yeah, I mean, everyone goes down certain pits. It's definitely a little wild for me for a while, but like everything else, you just you see it through, and I think people who aren't moderate people, like people who don't dabble, they'll jump into something, and then once they've explored it to the depths, they'll just be like, okay, well, I'm sick of this. This is like, you know, how's this benefiting me?
Yeah.
And it's only you that can figure that out. Like, you know, you could have like, you know, you could read things or hear things and just go, oh, well, I should do this and should do that. It's like, ultimately, it's only yourself that makes the decision. And you go, okay, well, here's the reason why. I've experienced this. You know, you just feel like crap. And eventually you think, okay, well, something's got to give, and you make a change and, you know, find the balance. I think for me, it's like, I gotta have like a sanctuary on a week, like once a week, you know, like where it's you hang out at home, put a record on, you got a couple drinks, like a weekly thing, you know. It's like a kind of like a because I don't, you know, there's not very many unhealthy things that I do really. Like I don't drink pop, like a lot of people do that. I don't do any of that. I don't smoke, you know, like a lot of habits that I don't really eat bread through the week, really. You know, it's like that's a recent thing. But you gotta have one thing.
Yeah, good at your one thing.
You know, hold on to one thing.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's tough. Like people who can't moderate, you gotta learn how to not moderate on a schedule with one thing. because that's the only way to find balance.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing that comes back to discipline. It's like if you have the discipline to do something that you say you're going to do, I just feel like it's as good as optimism for like your spirit. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So it sucks to not have a drink when you want to have a drink, but if you can go that time, it's like say you get that extra clarity, and you get that inner fortitude. It's like I can do whatever I want. And that kind of excitement, you know what I mean? That the idea that you can take control and actually do whatever you want. It just takes decisions. It's like that is almost as good as, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Having a drink when you really want one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's encouraging. And like, you can fall off the deep end pretty quick, and the ability to bring yourself back takes work. Like, I'm currently recovering from a year, which is just like, man, 2018, like, despite the fact that, you know, we played some good gigs and had some good times, it's like, wasn't my year at all, man. Like, it was not a good year for me. Like, I physically got really overweight. I just didn't care about my hair, and like, I had a big beard, and like, and I've been on the up and like really dropping a lot of that excess weight that I had. But man, it's like when I felt like a donkey on Pleasure Island in Pinocchio, man. Like, just like, you know, like you're just indulging and just you think it's like, okay, this is all fine, but like by the end of it, your bank account is destroyed, your physicality is destroyed. And it's like, what are you doing? You know, like you got to figure that out for yourself, I guess, when you're someone like me. But
I don't know if I had a great year either. I mean, I met my girl that I love very much. Can't say that's bad. But yeah, a lot of shit fucked up right at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird year.
Yeah, it wasn't mine, but I mean, I'm on the up and up, and like, you don't realize how over the edge you are until you're out of it.
Yeah.
And it takes some clarity. I mean, geez, like being able to find a way out of that and really recover from what you might like. It was all part of this whole process. It was like the final boss for me of the whole like living alone thing. To pull that around, it's like you think nothing really, like you're just having a good time, but it's just not like it's just not good. Like the encouragement of like being able to fit into a bunch of stuff that I used to wear and like it's like I look in the mirror now and I'm just like, what the hell happened in 2018? That was like a nightmare. Like a bad dream. I just woke up, bad dream. Oh, jeez. What was that? You know? But I don't know. It's part of the processing. You know, everyone has a fucked up phase, I guess. Yeah.
Oh, I'm finding I need to just keep moving forward really fast. And like basically, since I stopped drinking a couple of weeks ago, I've just needed something to occupy my mind. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's been these business moves, my studying, and I've just been practicing a lot. And I've been like just getting these lists of like these to-do lists. And I'm like just getting up early and I'm getting them all done before I go to sleep, no matter what. Like sometimes I have to stay up till 4 because I wrote too much shit down.
Right.
But I'm committed to getting it all checked off, no matter what, before I go to sleep. And it's like I'm feeling like I don't know. I'm like the fucking the Navy SEAL of broke musicians.
That's cool.
But it's like I like the idea of setting a commitment and like, oh, I put too much stuff down, it's getting late, I do not want to do this, oh, it sucks. But I'm gonna fucking do it, and every single night I do it. It's like again, I'm just talking about that inner fortitude. And it's like it's getting me rolling along really fast. And that change thing of being alive, it's like I'm noticing the change in myself. I'm having better ideas. I'm having more ideas that are compounding on the ideas I had before. And like this business is going to be a thing. Like I know that. You know what I mean? Is that better than drinking? Yes, it's way better than drinking.
Yeah. Another technique that I've kind of used. I mean, like, sorry, I think you cut out there.
I just like even just you and me having this conversation is part of it. Like we wouldn't have done this, but it's like this is fucking awesome. Like this is the kind of connection I want to have with people that I don't have. That you know what I mean? Sorry.
Yeah. No, this is definitely super encouraging stuff. But big thing for me, and this is all like everyone has their own process. Everyone has their own way of figuring out how to be healthy and sound in mind, but I find I'm a way different person. Like as far as like my satisfaction levels, like early in the morning. Like my entire frame of mind is like even if I didn't indulge in anything the night before, or I just had like a standard night, when I wake up in the morning, I can't even conceive what it is to be someone who would want to indulge in a substance. Like you feel so pure. You feel so pure. Like you're just like, I'm awake, sunshine. I love it. It's like you're just like, I'm awake, and like if you can wake up and feeling that way, like get yourself out of bed. And, like it's such a thing to crave. Like really putting priority on the morning version of yourself.
Yeah.
You know, but it sucks because so much of what we do has to do with being out and being, you know, down in the community of clubs and stuff. But you know, craving that morning zone and like not just getting up and rushing, you know, how much of a difference that makes on your day when, you know, I mean, in my scenario where it's like I have to be down and I have to be at work for 9:30 every day, which is a good time. Like that's pretty late. I get up at 8:30 every day. You know, that's late as hell. You know, really, if I was to pay a little more respect to myself, I get up at 7:30 every day. Go at the normal click that I would, and then once I was done and ready to go at the door, I'd have an hour.
Yeah.
Like I could get out the door at any point, but I have an hour, and you really just kind of sit there and reflect on that time, work on some shit, you know, read the news, watch something.
Yeah.
You know, good zone to crave, right?
Yeah, totally, man.
You know, it's you fall into a rut, and like it's hard. It's hard. Old habits die hard. Like for me, it's like the late night. Like at home, drinks, food, videos, movies, whatever. Standard crap, right?
I love staying up late, man. I love sitting in the chair, staying up late and reading shit.
Yeah, no, me too. I love it. And I don't think it's intrinsically bad, but it's for some reason like your mental chemistry changes at night. You're like you feel more indulgent. You feel more indulgent.
Yeah. You do.
You throw things out the window. You know. What? You throw like your like inhibitions out the window, right? Like you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't indulge in this, whatever, or maybe I shouldn't. You know, it's like, but you just don't care. You're like, I feel ready, and like I feel like your bodily system is like ready to fight anything.
It's like, oh, I'm about to go to bed. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Any logic to it?
Yeah. I think Jerry Seinfeld has a bit about this where it's like your morning and your night version of yourself is like always in conflict.
Yeah.
Like they don't really work together ever.
They're probably so chemically different. Might be actually like different people.
Yeah. Very much so. Like I like in the morning when I get up, I'm like damn. Like when you get up and like you hadn't like it's like a weekday, so it's like you're eating clean or whatever, and like get up and like damn. It's like I feel really good, you know, like it's I don't need to change anything about this. I really dig how I am right now, right in this moment. And then by the time you get tired and you feel like eating something shitty after work, and you're like people are like say, "Do you want to come do this?" And you're like, "Fuck, I want to do that." Whereas if you propose that to the morning person, like, nope.
Nope.
Like the morning person, it's like, I want to meditate in a flowing river and be one with everything. You know, it's like, you know. Whereas like by the time the evening comes, you're like a little sinner. You know.
Yeah. Oh fuck! I love that. That's awesome. Anyway, I gotta have a cup of tea and relax a little bit.
All right, man.
Fucking great talking to you, man. I'm so glad you did it with me.
It's a cool project.
I mean, yeah, we're gonna be talking all the time because we're in the same band, and I'll keep you updated on how the business is coming. I got it's a lot of fucking work, this entrepreneurship shit. You gotta come up with proposals, and you gotta like do market research, and like I was thinking of, you know what a focus group is?
Yeah, they use that for market research.
Yeah, I was thinking of holding a focus group maybe at some point.
Interesting.
Get maybe like some industry professionals, maybe like a club owner or two, or one.
And then some people who are independent, just like people who would never even think of going to a club.
Yes, people who might not, or like event planner. an event plan. People are specifically wedding planners as well.
Mm-hmm.
Who do that. Just hire a bunch of people. I don't know if you have to hire them, or you say this is a business function. I heard about you and I looked you up on your website. And I want to invite you tonight, and I'll feed you lunch if you can come by and take part in this hour and a half focus group.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's how it works, but I thought it would be interesting.
I would maybe even just like, I don't know if you're on Reddit or not, but like there's probably like a statistics page you can post on there and say like, hey, like what is the convention here? Do you pay or do you just like offer incentive of some kind? I mean, you probably that's why probably a lot of people post for focus groups on university campuses, because it's feed them lunch and it's like instance.
I mean, I can't imagine getting like the guy that owns all the clubs on Argyle to come out to a focus group, someone he's never met, for lunch. I imagine I would have to pay, or he just wouldn't do it. I don't know. I feel like certain like business people though, like it's sort of like a community. Like I feel like there would be people who would be interested in doing a focus group, and like maybe it's part of their their modus operandi to attend so many a year or something just for the business climate. Like, I don't know. I really got to find out more about it. You're right. I only just thought about it today.
That's an interesting idea.
Well, I got to do research. You know what I mean? I got to check out what's going on and how we should position this product. You know what I mean? So it's like it's going to be a fuckload of work, but I'm going to do it. And I feel like we need to do it, and I feel like we can make a bunch of money, and we can make a splash, and we can do what we want, and we can even put our original music on it. And we're gonna be fucking successful.
Here's another crazy thing. Yeah. You're saying market research. One of the massive pros about the whole streaming thing, because there's a lot of cons, especially to do with compensation. But one of the massive pros to do with that is you can see what songs are the most popular, let alone the artists. You can see what, like over the past half a year, set the date frame. It's like, what are people listening to the most?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
So that market research is it's built in.
Already done. Yeah.
You have it. It's already been done for you.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I guess, but I'm thinking like how our unique product or semi-unique product is gonna stand out, or how it could stand out, or how we should tweak it.
Oh yeah, I mean that's a separate variable. I think repertoire is the main one I was referring to, I guess, but
I don't think the repertoire is really that contentious if we're doing sort of like tributes. You know what I mean? Whatever we pull out, as long as they were hits and they fit into the theme, I don't think that's really an issue. We just got to play them well. It's more how are we going to stand out performance-wise? You know what I mean? Or like how are we going to promote this? Like, is the music collective thing really the most viable way to do this? Or you know what I mean? How should I approach agents with this thing? I was watching this thing I was reading this thing on the Wu-Tang Clan, and like they were one of the first like successful music collectives. And when they started out, it literally was just like a bunch of guys like us, and they just made tapes and passed them around Staten Island. You know what I mean? So it's like it's kind of what we're doing with this video stream from all our gigs, that I want to get going. I've been raving about it.
Right.
I just want to get a whole bunch of shit out on the internet so that we have some kind of presence where people know who we are and they know that we can perform well. We'll also have the real awesomely done, promo videos where we actually advertise our products. Sort of like nestled in all of this funny live footage. And then we've got this big presence, you know what I mean? And we're this umbrella with like these different groups. And it's like this big entity, you know what I mean? And it's almost like, I almost want to make it into a microcosm of choice, you know what I mean? A little micro universe in the scene. Whereas it's sort of like you're getting this guaranteed product, you know what I mean? I don't know. I already explained it all earlier. I don't need to go into it again.
I like the concept.
Yeah.
It's definitely like I said before, like when we started, it's like you're taking the theater company mentality and putting it out to live entertainment.
Yeah.
You know, it's really interesting. It's definitely something to be explored, and I'm really interested in seeing how that develops.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, Pat. Yeah, have a great night, man. And
Same to you.
I guess we're getting together on Thursday, right?
Thursday night, and then Friday night too, I guess.
Yeah, for a Rankins gig.
Yeah, I just made a playlist of all those tunes. I haven't listened to them yet, but that'll be all day tomorrow. I'll be listening and digesting those. So I think they're pretty simple. So.
Yeah, I went through it once. I'll probably go through it one more time. It's not too bad.
Yeah.
Cool. I texted out those Louis Armstrong charts. I don't know if
yes. Like HTML charts.
I'm just like, well, I might as well do the little repeat. Well, I might as well just do the whole chart.
I love it.
Well,
yeah.
We should put that on like nerd musician nerd universe or something.
Post it on some like open source site, like in shitty HTML, like everyone else does. Yeah. Right on, man.
Yeah, cool, man. Have a good night.
You too.
Yeah.
Yeah.